My 18th birthday looms, a shadow on the horizon, and with it a tempest has erupted within the very walls that have sheltered me since childhood. This house, a silent testament to a life cut tragically short, was a legacy from my biological father who vanished from this world when I was a mere 6 years old. Though he and my mother never exchanged vows, his final act of love and foresight was to bequeath this dwelling solely to me, securing a roof over our heads. And so here we have resided, a quiet two-person household, for as long as I can remember. Years later, the stillness was broken by a new presence. My mother, in the slow dance of healing, began dating again, and that's when my stepfather entered the picture. They married, and he seamlessly moved into our lives, into my house. For a time, a fragile peace settled over us, a semblance of ordinary family life, a quiet acceptance of our new configuration. Yet beneath this veneer of domestic tranquility, a silent, corrosive misunderstanding had been festering, unbeknownst to me. My stepfather, it turns out, labored under the profound illusion that this sanctuary, these very walls, belonged to my mother. This colossal oversight, this monumental blind spot, was destined to shatter into a painfully awkward, even humiliating confrontation just days ago. As the dawn of my majority approaches, bringing with it the weight of impending adulthood, he summoned me for a grave, unexpected discussion. With an unnerving casualness, he decreed that upon reaching 18, I would be expected to pay rent if I wished to continue living here, in what he believed was their home. The sheer audacity of it struck me cold, a physical shock. Rent? In my own house? The words felt alien, perverse. I recoiled, struggling to process the bizarre demand, before gently, carefully correcting his misconception. The house, I explained, was a gift, a sacred trust from my father, my inheritance, bequeathed to me in his will. He merely laughed, a dismissive, disbelieving sound that grated on my nerves, convinced I jested, perhaps attempting some elaborate teenage prank. The revelation that he truly did not know this fundamental truth, a truth that shaped our very existence, was utterly staggering. The air crackled with a sudden, unbearable tension. I sought out my mother, and she, with a quiet, almost ashamed admission, confirmed my worst fears. She had indeed kept this vital detail from him, a secret held for years. When the full, crushing gravity of my words finally settled upon him, a wave of palpable embarrassment washed over his face, transforming his earlier casualness into a strained discomfort. He stumbled over excuses, his voice a defensive murmur, claiming he genuinely believed the house was hers, a flimsy shield against the glaring truth. The following morning, breakfast was a silent battlefield, the unspoken tension a palpable weight pressing down on us. The clinking of cutlery, the soft scrape of chairs echoed in the heavy quiet. I decided to break the suffocating silence, to confront the elephant in the room that loomed larger than ever. Since this house was undeniably mine, I declared with a voice steadier than I felt, fairness dictated that they, my mother and stepfather, should begin paying rent if they intended to stay after my 18th birthday. It was a brazen reversal, I admit, a calculated, almost audacious move to turn the tables, to witness his reaction, given his prior pronouncements on my burgeoning independence. He recoiled as if struck, his face contorted in disbelief. He sputtered about unfairness, about a sudden, unwarranted change, a cruel imposition dropped upon them without warning. "You don't treat family like that," he accused, his voice thick with indignation. The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth, considering his own swift willingness to impose a financial burden on me just hours before, to demand rent from a child in her own home. He attempted to cloak his initial demand, his selfish calculation, in the guise of paternal concern, claiming it was merely an effort to help me learn financial responsibility, to prepare me for the harsh realities of adult life. My retort was swift, piercing through his flimsy justifications. How is that any different from you living here without contributing financially? What does that teach you? The argument escalated, a storm of words, each one a sharp dart. He branded me spiteful, accusing me of seeking only revenge, a malicious payback for his perceived slight, before he abruptly stormed away, leaving my mother in his wake, a silent, trapped observer. Later, she gently, almost apologetically, chided me, believing I'd been too harsh, agreeing he should not have asked for rent, yet expressing her profound fear that my reaction, my firm stance, would irrevocably fracture our fragile family, pushing us toward an irreparable split. Despite the explosive confrontation, despite the raw emotions laid bare, life in its relentless, unyielding march continued. Yet it was cloaked in an unspoken tension, a simmering resentment that permeated every corner of our home. Weeks bled into one another, filled with cautious dances around the contentious topic, unspoken agreements to avoid the landmine of our recent argument. My thoughts, however, circled relentlessly around the essence of family, the true, profound meaning of home. It transcended mere financial exchange, the cold calculation of rent or bills. It was about respect, about understanding, about acknowledging each other's place, each other's feelings, each other's right to exist comfortably within these walls. I decided with a deep breath and a renewed sense of purpose to try again, to approach him with a different spirit, a more conciliatory tone. I clarified with unwavering sincerity that my intention was not to cast them out, nor to inflict malice or act spiteful. I longed, truly longed, for a family that genuinely supported one another, that lifted each other up, not one that took advantage, that sought to exploit a vulnerability. I proposed an alternative, a path forward that offered compromise. Perhaps they could contribute to the household through shared bills or maintenance costs, a tangible investment in our shared space rather than traditional punitive rent. It would be a collective way for us all to invest in our home, to sustain it together, a shared responsibility rather than a burden. This renewed conversation, to my cautious relief, held a faint glimmer of hope. He seemed at last to grasp my perspective, to understand the deeper principles I was trying to articulate. And so we agreed, a tentative truce, to reconvene with my mother and forge a solution that felt equitable to all. It was paramount to me that we all felt valued, that we all felt treated fairly, that this house, my house, remained a haven, a place where we all yearned to be, a place of peace and belonging. In hindsight, this tumultuous period became a crucible, forging within me invaluable lessons in navigating difficult conversations, in standing firm for what is right, even when it feels terrifying. It illuminated with blinding clarity the indispensable power of clear communication and mutual respect in binding a family together, in weathering the storm, even when the currents turn treacherous. This was not merely the turning of an age, a simple numerical advancement. It was a profound, deeply personal step into adulthood, a maturation not only of years but of understanding and confronting the intricate tapestries of real-life situations, of asserting my place in the world. The question, however, lingers, echoing in the quiet moments. Have I, in seeking fairness and asserting my rights, inadvertently become the antagonist in my own story? The world, as I knew it, shattered a mere few years ago when the cruel grip of cancer claimed our father, plunging our family into an abyss of unimaginable grief. Before he met our mother, his life was a symphony of wild, untamed adventures, a vibrant tapestry woven with threads of spontaneity and exhilaration. He was, to our enduring fascination, a vital part of the very fabric of legendary rock bands, those titans of big hair and thunderous sound, during his early 20s. His existence then was a perpetual motion, a dizzying blur of cities and stages, a chronicle of unrestrained experiences that defied the mundane. He regaled us with countless tales from those days, vivid vignettes of deafening concerts that vibrated in your bones, endless nights of unbridled revelry that bled into dawn, and boundless journeys that stretched across the continent. He recounted it all with a self-deprecating humor, a twinkle in his eye, often joking about the sheer chaos of his past, the glorious anarchy of it all. He would even laugh, a hollow, almost nervous sound that seemed to carry a hidden weight, admitting with a shrug that he wouldn't be surprised to discover a half-sibling out there somewhere, a forgotten echo of his forgotten days, a child born of fleeting connections on the road. There were so many blank spaces, he confessed, so much lost to the mists of time, obscured by the haze of youthful abandon. But beneath the laughter, beneath the easy shrugs, a flicker of something darker, a deep-seated worry, betrayed him. The thought of an unknown child, unacknowledged, unraised, a life he had never nurtured, weighed on him far more profoundly than he ever let on. Witnessing this silent torment, this hidden sorrow, my siblings and I embarked on a quiet quest, a journey into the unknown corners of his past. We took a DNA test, hoping to illuminate the shadowed corners of his life, to perhaps offer him some peace. We expected little, perhaps a few distant relatives, nothing more, a simple curiosity. For years, our initial expectations held true, yielding only a scattering of distant cousins, innocuous connections in the vast web of ancestry. Then everything changed, dramatically, horrifyingly, as Dad's health spiraled, his body betraying him, forcing him into the cold, sterile embrace of hospice care. 6 months before he drew his last agonizing breath, a notification arrived, a seismic shift in our reality that reverberated through our grieving family. It was a match, but not a distant cousin, not an innocuous connection. This time it was a half-sister, and to our astonishment, she was almost a decade my senior. The sheer weight of this revelation was immense, a heavy truth to bear. The timeline of her birth perfectly aligned with his relentless touring years, those wild days before he settled down, before he knew us. We withheld contact, agonizing over how to tell him, considering his rapidly fading strength, his body already ravaged by illness. He was frail, weak, his voice a whisper, but the mention of his other daughter, a child he never knew, struck him like a physical blow. He broke down, weeping torrents of tears, a raw, unrestrained sorrow we rarely witnessed from our stoic father. Through his sobs, he confessed his deepest fear, the very thing he had always dreaded. Having a child out there he had not been there for, a life he had not supported. He expressed a desperate, burning desire to talk to her, to connect with her as soon as he possibly could. He yearned to make up for lost time, at least in whatever way he was capable of in his dwindling days, to offer some semblance of amends. When we finally connected with our newfound half-sister, the fragile hope we held, the yearning for a peaceful reunion shattered into 1,000 pieces. After giving her his number, after carefully explaining his dire health condition, his rapidly approaching end, and the profound fact that he had been entirely unaware of her existence until recently, Her response was far from understanding, utterly devoid of empathy. Instead, she unleashed a relentless barrage of phone calls, each one a storm of anger, accusations, and bitter resentment. She would scream questions at him, her voice raw with fury, demanding to know why he left her and her mother, why he never searched for her, why he never sought to be a part of her life, branding him irresponsible, a monster. We stood by, feeling utterly helpless, listening to these agonizing, soul-crushing exchanges. We even urged him, begged him to hang up, to shield himself from the torrent of her pain, but he refused. He believed, with a profound, almost spiritual conviction, that listening to her, absorbing her pain and anger, was the last, most profound thing he could offer her in his final days, a silent penance. After his passing, after the shroud of grief settled over us, the tension escalated, the air thick with unresolved conflict. When we informed her of his death, her immediate chilling reaction, devoid of any genuine sorrow or condolence, was to inquire about her inheritance. I was taken aback, physically recoiling from her bluntness, her raw, almost predatory focus on money. His medical bills had devoured nearly all his savings, leaving us with precious little. After paying for his funeral, a solemn, heart-wrenching expense, we were left with a meager $1,000. I explained to her, my voice strained, that there was hardly anything left, and what little remained was destined to be split among my siblings and me, his direct acknowledged children. I then, with raw, unvarnished honesty, expressed to her how deeply, how profoundly hurt I was by the way she had treated our father during his last vulnerable days. I told her without flinching that I could not forgive her for adding such immense stress and turmoil to his final moments, for casting such a dark shadow over his departure, and I pointed out with quiet conviction that his absence from her life was not entirely his fault. Her mother, too, played a significant, undeniable role in the situation. My own mother and sisters, however, continue to urge me to show compassion, to try to understand her feelings of abandonment, of growing up without a father. They suggest that I should simply give her the remaining money, considering it isn't a large sum, and acknowledging that her life hasn't been easy. However, despite their arguments, despite their pleas for empathy, I find myself utterly unable to move past her actions, past the cruel indifference she showed our dying father. Our father, in his foresight, appointed me to manage his estate, and I feel a strong, unwavering responsibility to honor his last days, which were tragically overshadowed by turmoil and regret due to those distressing, agonizing calls. It's a tough position to be in, a brutal balancing act of fairness, the raw ache of grief, and the gnawing tension of unresolved family conflicts. The question continues to haunt me. Am I truly the one in the wrong here, for upholding his memory, for protecting his legacy from a callous hand? No, he did not know of her existence, and while he bears some measure of responsibility for the choices he made in his youth, her mother also played a pivotal, undeniable role in keeping them apart for so long. She directed all of her anger and frustration, her years of perceived abandonment, at the wrong person, at a dying man who could not defend himself. And honestly, after that, empathy has its limits. I am truly sorry for your loss, for the additional burden you've had to carry. Please stick with your gut on this. You are not responsible for her feelings of abandonment. He clearly expressed worry for this unknown child. He had regret. If she had shown some compassion, some genuine love, or even a modicum of understanding, and had not demanded money from a dead man she didn't know, then perhaps, just perhaps, there could be some consideration, some act of care for her. But she showed none. If your father had wanted her to have something, he would have included her in his estate. He was talking to her, so it sounds like he was of sound mind, fully capable of making that decision if he wished. Do not give her any money. Stop taking her calls. It doesn't sound like she wants to get to know you anyway, only to claim what she believes is hers. I get it. She's angry, but that's not your burden to bear, not your cross to carry. I am a 40-year-old mother, a fierce protector and devoted guardian of my wonderful 15-year-old daughter, Amy, whom I've raised mostly on my own, navigating the complexities of single parenthood with unwavering dedication. A few years back, I embraced my authentic self, sharing with the world that I am gay, and just last year, my life truly blossomed when I married Jenna, who is 42. Jenna, a radiant soul, brought a new, vibrant addition to our burgeoning family, her daughter, 13-year-old Nora. Now our lives are intertwined and we all reside together under one bustling roof, a testament to our new blended existence. I retain full legal custody of Amy, a steadfast anchor in our evolving family unit. The initial adjustment for Amy, embracing the idea of having another mom figure in her life, was a delicate, intricate dance, a careful balancing act of emotions and expectations. But now, watching them, I can see they're doing beautifully together, a testament to their growing bond. Our household became even more lively, more wonderfully chaotic, because Amy and Nora's birthdays are super close to each other, separated by only a couple of days, almost a cosmic alignment. Considering this delightful proximity, and knowing that Nora, since moving in with us, had been a bit shy, a little reserved, and had encountered some difficulty forging new friendships, we thought it would be a truly fantastic idea, a gesture of profound inclusion, to throw a joint birthday party for them. It seemed like the perfect, most heartfelt way to help Nora feel more integrated, more genuinely celebrated, more truly at home in our new family setup, to solidify her place within our hearts. Because most of my relatives reside abroad, a vast distance separating us, they tend to send gifts ahead of time, ensuring they arrive for the celebration. This year, a truly massive bag, brimming with at least 20 beautifully wrapped presents, arrived about a week before the party, promising an abundance of joy and smiles for the birthday girls. The party itself was an unmitigated hit, a symphony of joyful chaos filled with boundless fun, uproarious laughter, and of course, plenty of delicious cake. After the last guest had departed, their joyful echoes fading and it was just our little family unit, a moment of quiet anticipation, Jenna began the joyous task of handing out the gifts. She pulled gift after gift from the enormous bag, each one a new surprise, and a creeping, unsettling unease began to settle over me as we noticed, with increasing alarm, that they were all, without exception, for Amy. After about 12 unwrapped presents, my discomfort solidified into a tight knot in my stomach, a premonition of disappointment. We reached into the bag again, a hopeful gesture, only to find that there was a single gift left, and this one, finally, mercifully, was for Nora. Nora, with a brave, almost heartbreaking effort to stay upbeat, to conceal her rising disappointment, opened her gift from my parents. It was a modest $15 tumbler from Walmart. I could see her trying valiantly to hide the sting, the quiet letdown. It wasn't about the meager price, not really, but the glaring disparity, the palpable lack of thought behind it, the stark contrast to what Amy had received. Amy, on the other hand, had received an astounding array of high-end, lavish gifts. Gift cards each worth well over $100, a brand new limited edition smartphone, some truly cool cutting-edge gadgets, fancy designer clothes, and a bunch of heartfelt birthday cards, each one overflowing with affection and generosity. Seeing the stark, almost cruel difference in how the gifts were distributed, the blatant imbalance truly got to me, cutting deep. I couldn't help feeling with a growing sense of frustration that my family hadn't considered Nora equally, that they hadn't embraced her as fully as Amy, and it seemed profoundly unfair, especially watching her try so hard to brush it off, to pretend it didn't sting, but clearly, heartbreakingly, feeling left out. That night, fueled by a volatile mix of disappointment, frustration, and a fierce primal mama bear instinct, I took to the family chat, my fingers flying across the keyboard. I called out my siblings, my parents, and my extended family members, explicitly stating my dismay for their blatant oversight of Nora. I expressed without reservation my profound frustration about the casualness, the almost dismissive nature of the gift Nora received compared to the lavish, extravagant ones showered upon Amy. I wanted to make sure everyone understood with crystal clarity that Nora is just as much a part of our family, as deeply integrated, as truly loved as Amy, and that it is absolutely crucial that she feels valued and included, especially on significant occasions like her birthday, to foster a true sense of belonging. After the party, when I confronted my family directly about the glaringly unequal gift giving, they brushed off my concerns with a wave of their hands, a collective dismissal that felt like a slap in the face. They argued with an almost chilling detachment that it wasn't their responsibility to buy gifts for Nora since she isn't directly related to them, not blood, and they felt that Amy deserved her gifts, every single one, because she was their blood relative, their direct kin. They also mentioned with a hint of accusation that since I hadn't thrown a separate, exclusive party for Amy, it was my issue to deal with the dynamics between Jenna and Nora, not theirs, effectively washing their hands of any responsibility. Seeing Nora feel left out wasn't new, unfortunately. This wasn't the first time she'd been overlooked, minimized by my side of the family, which made the whole situation even more painful, even more devastating for her, chipping away at her self-worth. Wanting desperately to smooth things over, to bridge the growing chasm, I turned to Amy that night, after Nora had retreated to her room. I asked if she might perhaps share just a few of her many gifts with Nora. Not everything, just some of the gift cards, a couple of the new clothes, a gesture of sisterly generosity. To my profound surprise, Amy was deeply, visibly upset by the suggestion. She had always been about sharing before, a generous spirit. And although she and Nora weren't the closest of friends, they generally got along fine, a comfortable coexistence. But when I asked her to share, Amy broke down, truly sobbing, her small body racked with emotion. She confessed through her tears that she had never wanted a joint birthday party in the first place, that it felt imposed upon her. She felt like I was constantly, relentlessly making her share everything with Nora, from their room to parties to sleepovers, even to social invitations. If only one of them was invited somewhere, I'd insist neither go unless both were included, a seemingly fair rule that now felt like a suffocating blanket. Amy expressed with raw, unfiltered emotion that she desperately wanted something of her own, something sacred and untouched, especially her birthday gifts, which she felt were the one thing that could be just hers, truly hers. In a moment of sheer regrettable frustration, I told her off for being selfish, a harsh word I immediately regretted, and grounded her. I even, in a fit of misguided fairness, took a couple of her presents and offered them to Nora, hoping, desperately hoping, it would show some fairness, some equality. However, Nora, with quiet dignity, refused them, not wanting to cause more trouble with Amy or to feel like she was accepting pity gifts, handouts that would only deepen the rift. Since then, Amy has been a wall, distant and cold toward all of us, a palpable chill in the air. I truly just wanted to bring my daughters closer together with the joint party, to forge a stronger bond, and to make sure they both felt equally loved and equally included, truly part of our family. But it seems like it backfired spectacularly, and now I'm utterly lost. Not sure how to fix the tension, the palpable unhappiness in our family. Am I the one who is truly to blame here? Yes, you are. You're essentially asking your daughter to relinquish her complete identity, to share everything that defines her with Nora, her room, her possessions, her family, her friends, her birthday party, the party she attends, sleepovers. Is there truly anything left that is solely hers? This can't be good for her development. She desperately needs to be her own person, to forge her own unique identity. Ladies and gentlemen, since you've listened to the end of this story, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments which state you're watching from. Let's see what percentage of elite viewers make it to the end. And please kindly turn your attention to the screen after this message. There you'll find a full playlist of thrilling stories, a subscribe button for the channel, and our most captivating story. Click, enjoy, and thank you.